Hi, I'm Munchendaster, the Dungeon Master, and earlier today, someone asked me how I became a professional Dungeon Master, or how I got started. So I'm gonna tell you. I started out about a year ago, whenever COVID first really hit, smashed down upon our society, destroying my previous job. I am a magician, a Renaissance Fair magician. I traveled across country doing Renaissance fairs all around America, and was having a great time of it. Just really starting to blossom and start getting some of the better gigs that I was trying to get when COVID came and just sort of wrecked the whole marketplace. Now, with no big events happening, nowhere for me to get a job as a magician, doing juggling and doing magic tricks and contortionism, I had to come up with some other way to make a living, preferably a way that didn't put me out working in the essential workers category where I had to go out in public all the time, which is just something I didn't want to do. Much respect to people that have done that because that is brutal. So I wanted to work from home somehow. And I'd been playing D&D for a long time, for my whole life, really, since I was like 6 years old when I was first exposed to first edition and then second edition D&D, where I made my first character. Played third edition avidly, but I had never actually played fifth edition. But what happened was had hit. I realized I had to make money somehow. I knew a lot about how to play D&D, and I knew how to be entertaining and engaging and to keep a game going and lively and have people come recurringly to a show or to see an act, right? So I kind of understood the show business side of Dungeons and Dragons more so than the fifth edition rules. Though I was very familiar with third edition. I played Pathfinder a lot, regularly. So to make the transition to fifth edition rules wasn't that hard. I spent about a weekend studying the rules to understand them, and then I put together a one-shot adventure. Said, okay, I know that there are bunches of people playing D&D. Everybody's locked up. This was the day that quarantine happened. I began researching this. So here's the simple math of professional dungeon mastering. Only one out of every 6 players is also a dungeon master sometimes, right? Most of them not always, of course, but a lot of them are occasionally dungeon masters, 1 out of every 6. But the average size of a party is 4 to 5. So there's more players than there are dungeon masters. If every dungeon master ran a game at the same time and every player played, there wouldn't be enough dungeon masters for all the players. So there's a demand. And to fill that demand, all you have to do is know where to find the players and how to get them into your game. So that's what I set out to do. Now, I had already played online quite a bit and had run some free games, and I knew sort of how to do the VTTs, which you really need to get into, Foundry, Roll20. There's many other ones. I primarily use Roll20, but now things are changing. The dynamics going more towards Foundry. I've got Foundry, I'm doing a server on the Forge, and I have some other things going on. But you need to find out where your player base is, how to get yourself to the players, and then get them to you. Now, I set it up. I started building up players, and to my great astonishment, my timing was good, and I had a good enough act, you could say. My game was good enough that I had a really high player retention rate. 100% of the people that played in my games would come back the next week, or at least 90% of them. Like 1 out of every 10 people wouldn't come back every single week. So I easily built up many games. Now everyone's not going to be able to do that, and it's the skill base, right? Like how well is your game going to keep people coming back, and what are you doing, and everything else. But ultimately, there is a huge demand there. So I was like, okay, I have to teach myself how to do this, and basically learned how to do Roll20, set up a little game, started running my homebrew stuff. I didn't want to do a bunch of modules. I wanted to do homebrew stuff and make money doing that, and that's what I started at the very beginning. I said, I'm not going to do any modules, just going to do homebrew. And I did that for a little while, and I got a few players, but then it just became so hard to keep up with that amount of content. I can't run 7 homebrew games a week or whatever, 5 homebrew games a week. It's not reasonable. I mean, some people can do it, but it's really not that reasonable. Because, like, if you're putting a lot of time into prep, a lot of people have different prep systems. I have my own very specific way that I prep that takes a little time, but it's very consistent. Whereas other people are just, oh, I'm on the fly, I think about it every day, and then for 5 minutes before the game, I just brainstorm, and then I'm ready to go. I don't do it quite like that. I spend an hour or 2 hours or 3 hours per session thinking, writing stuff down and making a laid out formulaic sort of way. I'll get into that later in some more videos. I'm starting this as sort of a Dungeons and Dragons YouTube channel because I just feel like when I started out as a professional DM, and even now as I'm trying to grow more as a professional DM, resources are hard to come by. So I thought I would give my 2 cents here, because I am as just as qualified as anybody else, I suppose. I mean, it's like I'm not independently wealthy, but I've been playing D&D consistently for the last year for money. I've paid bills on it. I have got myself out of hardship, and I've been able to survive through the pandemic because of that. So I can't complain. Anyway, so I just dove right in. Now, for other people looking to get in, if you're looking to get into it now, the market is a little bit different. We have middlemen now getting between the players and player bases. We have people that are multiple virtual tabletops coming out all at once right now. There's a million of them. There's a million. If you go to see which free TT to pick, there's 500. So you have to know kind of where to play. And the main things you want to think about is what game are you going to play? You play in 5th edition. Do you want to play a different type of game? There is a market for different types of games. If you know how to run some quirky, I know how to play Werewolf or White Wolf the Apocalypse or whatever, Werewolf the Apocalypse from the 90s, and you just know how to run that really well. Well, there's a niche for it. All you need is 5 people that want to play. You don't have to have a broad market appeal. You just need 5 people that want to play that specific game, and you can set a game up like that. And then that's a weekly reoccurring income. You have to think of it as a business. You have to think of it as, I am setting up a schedule. I'm setting up a business so that I can make money on a schedule and I can work on a schedule. Now, anyway, follow me. Subscribe to my videos. I'm going to be putting out more stuff. I'm Munchadaster, and I'm a professional Dungeon Master. I hope that this video was at least somehow helpful to you or inspirational, because if I can do it, anybody can do it. And thanks. You guys have a good one.